But that is going to end the game. The Coyotes run out of time here in San Jose. They pressure on that late power play, but cannot get the equalizer. And they fall to the rival San Jose Sharks in the season finale, as the 2015-16 season has come to an end.
Welcome, Coyotes fans, to another edition of Coyotes Corner. Welcome to all the hockey fans, the hockey lovers, the lovers of hockey, the people that enjoy hockey, because this is the place for hockey, especially Coyotes hockey. I'm Doug Cannon, and to my left is Luke Lapinski.
Hi, Doug. I think Dave might be at the wrong podcast, judging by the look on his face.
And across the big mahogany desk is Dave Vest. Dave, how are you, bud?
I'm good, Doug. Quite an intro. I loved it. Do you get paid by the word?
No, I don't. I should have written that in the contract.
He gets paid by the word, but he gets paid to use less words, if at all possible. And is the big desk, is that like a power trip?
It kind of is. What do you think? I mean, I like that it's...
He just doesn't like to be close to us.
Yeah. Well, that's because you sneezed all over him last show.
Well, that was an accident.
Didn't seem like it.
My sinuses still haven't cleared up. I threatened to chop down every flower in the backyard, and my wife got angry. I'm like, we don't need the roses. We don't need the hibiscus. Get rid of those things. They're making me sneeze.
And that's why you're here with us now?
Right. I still have the cypress trees, though. I want to get rid of those. Anybody want a pair of cypress trees? I don't like mine. Sad day, boys. Hockey season for us is over.
Yeah, don't remind me. I need like a little bit of sports therapy every year when the Coyote season ends. Even the year it ended in the Western Conference Finals. It's you start to rationalize. I don't know what the 7 stages are, but my rationalization at the end of the hockey season is, okay, well, it's like a 6-month off season, but then really training camp opens in September, so it's a 5-month off season. And then you got you can still watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, so I can kind of cut it down to 3 months. And then you got rookie camp, draft party, so it's like 8 days really. So we're almost there.
Wow. I feel energized.
I feel good now. I got hockey to look forward to.
That's brilliant, Luke. I love that.
Thank you. I've been crafting it for a couple of years now.
Because after Saturday night, I just felt this huge, huge void.
Yeah.
Seriously. I was just like, now what?
Right.
Well, it was different this year, too, because all the years I've done this job, I think last year it ended on the road. But I believe that was the first year since I've been here that the season ended on the road. And this year it ended with 4 road games. So when they beat Washington in the home finale, I mean, that was great. That was how you want to go out in terms of home ice. Beat the best team in the league. Beat them the way they did it. The arena was packed. It was a packed pride night. It was basically his fan appreciation night. So it was just a very festive environment. And then you realize you still have 4 games left against 4 playoff-bound teams. All on the road, too. And St. Louis, Chicago back-to-back is inhumane.
It's not fair.
No. No team in the league should have to go through that.
Never mind where we were in the standings going into that road trip. Chicago-St. Louis should never be a back-to-back in the 4 remaining games of a season. I don't think anybody should have to play a back-to-back series at the end of a season.
And at least get St. Louis in the second half of the back-to-back. I mean, you're playing Chicago and I've made this analogy to 1,000 people now, but I'll make it to you guys too. Chicago's the San Antonio Spurs of hockey. And everything they do is totally legal and totally stuff I would do too, but they know what it takes to win. They know it's a marathon. Their methods are tried and true. Certainly, if I'm Chicago and I have a guy that's out for 2 weeks and there's 3 weeks left in the season, he's out for 3 weeks. He's going to rest up, and he's going to come back that last week maybe, or the last couple games, and they really hit their stride this time of year, and we saw it. And unfortunately for the Coyotes, it was the second half of a back-to-back when they got to see it in Chicago, by the way.
So all that being said, the team finishes the season on Saturday night. The final record, 35, 39, and 8. 78 points.
78 points.
What do you guys think?
I think it was a productive year. It was, 22 points more than last year? I saw and witnessed more positives than I did negatives this year. I mean, the biggest negative I saw this year, and I'll start there, is losing Mike Smith. That's a big blow, and that's a big hurdle to get over. But rookies, Martinook, Duclair, Domi, they did what was expected of them. It's hard as a young player to step from juniors into the NHL and play at a level that the media and everybody's expecting you to play at. And not only did they answer that, I think they surpassed it.
Yeah, me too. I was going to say they exceeded expectations. Mine, anyway. All three of them. And you didn't even mention Louis Domingue.
Oh, Louis, yep.
Who we weren't even really talking about in September or October. And that kid came in and proved he belonged in the NHL. But I hope I'm not getting ahead of you here, Doug.
No, we're on the same page.
But the rookies, I mean, how could you not be impressed by what that group of young players accomplished this season?
Just very different, too. I mean, when you look at... You mentioned Domi specifically. Just you talk about expectations for a rookie; they're through the roof because of who his dad is, because of where he grew up, just because of the way he played at the World Juniors last year, because of all his highlight reel goals in London. So he clearly had the highest expectations. But then, Anthony Duclair played a little bit for the Rangers last year, not enough where he wouldn't be considered a rookie, but the bar was raised very high for him too, just maybe not quite as high for Domi. And then Martinook is just completely different. There's no way he stepped on the ice in Game 1 under national scrutiny, following Jordan Martinook around on the NHL Network. It's a whole different animal for him, and yet he probably exceeded expectations more than anybody.
Oh, I agree. And he brought to the team an X factor that's really, really hard. It's one of those things that you can't coach, and that's just an energy/compete level, because that's got to come within. I mean, the coaching staff puts them in a place and they teach them systems, and you got to do this and you got to do that. But you cannot teach a player to come to the rink every day, put in the work, and then game night deliver the energy and the competitiveness that I thought Jordan Martinook did game in and game out. I thought he did it from Game 1 to Game 82.
I thought Tippett said something today, too, that I thought was really interesting and stood out maybe more than almost anything else that was said today, was those rookies got better in the second half of the season, which I don't think is a surprise to anybody. I mean, watching them, we all kind of realized they got better. Maybe it was a surprise. It was a surprise
to me.
Well, I don't mean it was a surprise like if I told you that at the start of the year. I mean a surprise to hear him say that now, because we saw them get better in the second half. But you're right. That's not how it's supposed to go.
Right.
You're supposed to hit that wall your rookie season no matter who you are. And
well, I think the explanation that Coach gave, too, gives it even more credence in the fact that when you're halfway through the season, teams are starting to figure you out, and they were able to push through that wall.
Yeah.
That might have been the most impressive. When you're just talking about those three players specifically, we'll get to Domingue, I guess, in a second, but those three guys specifically, by the end of the season, Jordan Martinook is on people's radars. But, I look at, if you look at the playoff teams in the Western Conference, the Coyotes had a winning record against 4 of them, and they split with Nashville. Essentially, they were 1-1-1 against the Predators. The teams they had a winning record against, Dallas, Anaheim, L.A., I mean, especially Anaheim and L.A., Duclair and Domi, if you recall at the start of the year, just burst onto the scene against those teams of all teams, and then still had to play them 3-4 more times, and they continued to be effective. I mean, you're talking the best of the best, and absolutely Anaheim by the third game was keying on specifically Domi and Duclair, and they still kept producing.
I was very impressed with the way this team performed. I know the team didn't make the playoffs. That's the ultimate goal. It didn't happen. Okay, I get that. But if you look at the season, it was just impressive the way that the team was able to, hang around in playoff contention for as long as it did. We're talking the All-Star break, I believe, right before it, in the third place in the division, or somewhere around there, within the top 8.
Well, really, I mean, heading into that last road trip in February, they were still very much in it, heading up towards the trade deadline.
You're going exactly where I'm going. There were 3 road trips that defined the season, unfortunately. 2 0-5s, and then the last one. I mean, if you look at the final analysis, the Coyotes missed out on the playoffs by 9 points.
Yeah.
Minnesota collapsed at the end of the season. So we're talking about 9 points. 0-5, 0-5, 0-4-1, or 0-3-1, excuse me, on the last trip. If you can get some wins on those trips, this season might not be over today.
Which kind of goes back to what the three of us talked about the last podcast, was that when we were looking at the playoffs and we had a handful of games, we were in there. I mean, we were on the border of crossing that line into the playoffs.
Right.
And that to me is just a testament to this team and to the coaching staff, that Coach Tippett and his staff gets these players to compete. And I said it 1,000 times on this podcast. The thing I loved about this year's team is that it didn't matter if they were up a goal or if they were down 3 goals, they never quit.
Well, and those 3 road trips, too, they're very different road trips. I mean, there's the one in December where they lost all the games by 2 or 3 goals. That was clearly kind of a test early in the season that I think after that stretch in December, they came home and just rattled off win after win. So they woke up. The one heading into the trade deadline, you remember, I mean, there was nothing but teams, I believe, that are all in the playoffs now. It was Washington, Tampa Bay, Florida, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, all playoff teams. And they easily could have won 3 of those games. And that's not like, if they had done this differently. No, like, if the puck doesn't hit the post, they beat Washington.
Right.
They should have beat Philadelphia. I mean, just little things like that. And I'm not saying that would have got them into the playoffs, but then you look at the last road trip of the season, and I thought Brad Richardson put this pretty well yesterday when he said, obviously we're going out there, we're trying every night. You have a little extra edge to your game, though, when you're playing Chicago in the second half of a back-to-back or whatever, when you have a playoff spot on the line. And I'm not saying that would have changed the results or anything, but it's just interesting that it's 3 very different road trips that, to Dave's point, kind of ultimately kept them out. But I think just the simple fact that they weren't mathematically out of it until about 2.5 weeks left, which normally is not acceptable, but considering what was happening here this season and what you're building towards ultimately, I think it is acceptable in this rare case. The simple fact that the guys were playing meaningful games up until 2.5 weeks ago, I think really serves them well next year.
One final thought on this topic as far as, making the playoffs and when it kind of slipped away.
Why is he pointing his finger at me?
I think he's trying to move you along.
Oh, okay.
I had a talk with Shane Doan yesterday.
Name dropper.
Name dropper.
Dropping names. A one-on-one. You can watch it on Twitter or the website.
Okay.
Which website?
My website.
Oh, okay. Dave.com.
Vest.com.
Best of Vest.
Do you guys remember when Shane was speaking to the media and he said to us, the final 25 games of the season are the most important, and this is where you make hay. And unfortunately, he was right, and the team didn't at that critical time. And in talking to Shane yesterday, he said, taking the positive out of it, the team realized that those weren't just words. That's the grind. That's where teams become playoff teams. Hopefully the lesson was learned. This is a young team moving forward. For a lot of these guys, it's their first year, and to learn that in their first year is invaluable.
I think that this kind of goes back to my earlier point. I think this is what Shane Doan is saying, too. Like, this suddenly turned into like a philosophical debate in here, but you can hear somebody say
nothing
that.
is something.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
I think you're talking about Minnesota's playoff chances. When you hear somebody say that, even if it's the captain that's been there time and time again, it's not like you don't believe it. You hear it and you're like, oh, he's right. We're going to have to step up these last 25 games. But until you've actually experienced it, especially with the schedule the Coyotes had in those last 25 games, the hardest schedule in the NHL over that stretch, when you experience it, you get something out of it. It's the little things that now next year you can point back and be like, okay, with the season on the line or with playoff seeding on the line against Dallas, we were able to do this and beat them. Just it's little bits of confidence that you wouldn't think NHL players would need, but they do. And I'll go back to something that Shane Doan said a couple years ago when Mikhail Bodker went off in the playoffs. Young guys need to get that sort of confidence in the playoffs through experience or through meaningful games. There's so many young players on this team that are going to be good for a long time, but playing against teams like that with playoff seeding on the line, even if it's just for those other teams, I would venture to say pretty confidently that the final 25 games of the regular season next year are going to be a lot more successful on the ice because of what they went through this year.
I just, to add to that, I think they also, even though they didn't get the ultimate success, I thought that there was a good push within those 25 games when Domingue was added. It kind of gave the guys a little bit of hope, especially the guys that hadn't been there before. And then, you especially in the Western Conference, when you're playing against experienced teams like Chicago, L.A., Anaheim, that know what those 25 games are about, and they come at you. I mean, L.A. is like the prime example. They get to that point, they flip a switch, and it's a different team. It's a playoff team from that point forward, and they just drive. And I thought that our guys did a really good job of dealing with it. Losing your backup goalie, and then you bring in a rookie goalie. I can see where Shane's got a tough job keeping that room up, keeping guys focused, along with the coaching staff. I thought they did a hell of a job in doing that and keeping that focus and playing. And I thought that Domingue really gave him a really nice boost in that direction.
Yeah, well, we should probably talk about Domingue and just the goalie situation. I know that you said your biggest negative from the season was Mike Smith getting hurt and missing 40 games.
I don't mean it as a negative. It was just...
It was negative at the time.
It was a blow to the team to lose your starting goalie and to lose him for, 41 games?
But I think ultimately, knowing now that Mike Smith is healthy and he's fine and he was able to close out the season, we're not worrying about his health going into next year because he hasn't played in 3 or 4 months. Now, looking back, it almost turns into a positive for this team because you have a very clear number 2 goalie heading into next season. And I think, and I don't think I'm out of line thinking this way, that Louis Domingue showed that he'll come into training camp as number 2 next year. I mean, he's still got to have a good training camp and everything. But I think he's shown that he can step in and play if Mike Smith needs a rest or if he's just, goalies have a rough stretch of the season every year, or if he just got a lot of back-to-backs or a lengthy road trip. You can trust Louis Domingue to step in there.
Well, I think the role of a backup goalie or a number 2 goalie or whatever the label you want to put him on is far more important than most people understand. That if you have a solid number 1 goaltender, as we do with Mike Smith, that giving him a rest when he needs a rest and having your backup goalie come in and play like a number 1.
And not just automatically lose games.
Right. He's not just there for the blow. He's there to win the game. When you have that 1-2 punch between the pipes, there's going to be a lot of W's in the win column.
Agreed.
That's where the W should go, too.
Well, I don't
ideally.
want him in the L column.
Because that would just be confusion.
That's where, something is nothing and nothing is something.
They could go in the ROW column and not look out of place.
But then it's a tiebreaker.
Let's talk about Shane Doan again.
I have one more question on the goaltending.
We're not done with Domingue yet.
You just want to talk about Shane Doan again.
My.
Well, his vacation starts soon. You know how it is.
Dropping names over and over again.
With Mike Smith, I said this on the postgame show a few times. I think this is extremely important that he was able to come back this season.
I agree.
And play, not only play, but play well, because we don't go into next year, and he doesn't go into next year with
question marks.
Any uncertainty.
Right.
It's not like he's using training camp next year to work back into game shape. He did it against the best of the best this year. And I would even go one step further. Louis Domingue was playing every night. He got pushed to being the clear backup at that point, but there was still a rotation. Mike Smith's used to playing all the time when he plays. He was in a rotation. And I thought they both responded to it really well.
Yeah, Mike could have shut it down. We asked him point blank when he came back, why are you coming back? And he said exactly what you just said. Oh. I don't want to have this question over my head for the entire summer. I want to come back and prove that I'm back healthy and that I can compete and deliver results, which he clearly did. So you take that right out of the equation. That's one less, what if or question mark heading into camp.
So Smith comes back, plays 10 games, save percentage 944 to close out the year. If you keep that going over the course of a full season, you're talking about the Vezina. And I know that it's just 10 games, but in this case, 944 save percentage is more than just coming back and playing and being healthy. It's coming back and playing really well.
Well, didn't you have something about your buddy Shane?
Well, I just wanted to see what you guys thought of his season.
He's good.
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah. That wasn't a compliment to you. It was a compliment to Shane.
Very impressive season for Shane. Goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway since we've assembled here with microphones. 28 goals. Franchise record for goals.
I forgot the 2 turntables.
Points. Power play goals. And his future. Shane has not committed to coming back. His contract expires in June.
Okay, so let's go around the table before you finish your thought. I'm going to rudely interrupt you.
His thought's gone. I just saw it leave his head.
I heard it.
That thought's
never
never coming back.
I heard that.
Yes.
Went away.
That's what I always thought Dave's thoughts might sound like, too. Now it's been confirmed.
I'm pointing at you, Luke.
I know. It's making me very uncomfortable.
Does Shane return?
Yes. But
I'm pointing at you, Dave. Does Shane return?
Absolutely. No question.
I'm pointing at you, Doug. Does Shane return? Yes.
This is weird. But I like the way he's handling it of take some time and I'm going to figure it out. And so I know for sure. So there's no sort of confusion. He doesn't have to announce it in the middle of the season or I'm just looking at the Detroit situation heading into the playoffs. Pavel Datsuk's clearly trying to appease a lot of people saying, oh, yeah, I'm coming back. Or, well, no, I probably can't. You don't have to do that. Wait till the season's over. Wait till you've had some time to cool down. It's not emotional. The season's not fresh in your mind. But yes, if you're asking me if Shane Doan's coming back, I don't know how he can't. He was so good this year. He stuck with the team through ownership issues in the past, and last year was a tough year just in terms of the record. It's getting good. He can't leave now.
Well, Dave Tippett gave us a great anecdote today about it, talking about Shane's final shift in the season finale. He had Shane on the ice for the last, 1:30 of that game against San Jose, and Shane came off the ice because he was tired. And Coach Tippett told us that if this was Shane's last game, there's no way he would have come off the ice.
It was great.
Yeah, it was a great story.
I honestly, it was such a candid answer. I don't remember who it was that asked him, was it your gut feeling, is he coming back? Dave's pointing to himself, but I really don't think it was Dave. I expected him to just be like, well, Shane's going to take time with his family, which is all true. But instead, he's like, my gut feeling is he's coming back. I mean, and then to have reasoning for it too, not just like, because that's how I feel. Like,
it just didn't feel like Shane Doan's last game for any of us.
It didn't feel like his last season. We knew going in that, it was a contract year for Shane. We knew at the start of the, training camp. Not at one point through those 82 games did I feel that Shane Doan was never going to return to the ice.
And I'll say this, I mean, everybody has their opinion on whether he should come back or not, and it's all that he should come back, no matter which player or fan or media member, whoever you talk to. It's obviously totally his decision, but it wouldn't feel right with all he's done for this franchise for him to go out without it kind of being, I know he wouldn't want a full production over it, but it does feel like there should be a farewell tour whatever year he finally retires. And he can clearly still play. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We talked about at the start of the year. I remember talking to Shane. He was like, yeah, I know I'm valuable to this team as a leader with all these young guys, but I don't want to just hang around if I'm not contributing. He was on pace to set a career high in goals.
He's only the fourth player to ever lead his team in goal scoring for an entire season for players 39 years or older.
Yeah.
And he's in there with some pretty good company. Gordie Howe is one of them.
He's decent.
Yager.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Gordy guy's pretty good. So who'd you enjoy watching this year, Luke?
Well, we touched on the rookies. I think Domi and Duclair, just electrifying players when they have the puck for different reasons. I mean, Max Domi does look to pass, but he also scored 18 goals. And that was kind of my, not concern, but something I was interested to see from him when this season started, because everybody was talking about how great of a rookie he's going to be and talking about how the Coyotes needed more offense. He's a playmaker. You ask Max Domi, he says, I'm a passer, not a shooter. But he also scored 18 goals. He's got a pretty good shot. And then Duclair, I think, fits so well with him, whether they're on the same line or not, just because they bring something different. Anthony Duclair is a finisher. I mean, they've both got that skill. We saw the goal that Martin Hansel scored. It might have been Marty's last goal of the year, where Duclair comes in and he's going one direction and he toe drags the puck and throws a pass to Max, and they just know where they're going to be. And we saw this for Team Canada at the World Juniors last year. And before the puck even comes to Max, he's already passing it to Marty. I don't even know where the goalie went. Like, you don't even see the goalie. And Marty's just like, okay, I'll just tap this into the net. How many times did they do that this year?
Yeah.
Right.
They were fun to watch.
Whether they were on the ice together or not. If they weren't on the ice together, they just made other players do it.
So then we add a guy like Strome and Dvorak to that mix.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. We're going to have some fun hockey to watch next year as well. Me, personally, and you guys know this, and I think the fans already know it, I just can't say enough about Jordan Martinook. That kid just impressed me, and the thing that really impressed me about, I've already spoken to his competitiveness, is that it didn't matter where he was. It didn't matter what line coach put him on, what side of the ice coach put him on. He went where he was told to go, and he performed every single night.
Very versatile.
And I just love hockey players that just come and they bring it and they make things happen. For the casual fan, they go, oh, he's on the fourth line or he's on the third line.
Yeah, they don't get it.
They don't understand how important that role is in an 82-game series.
And how specialized it is.
Right.
Normally you are a third or fourth line player. Martinook played every line at some point this year.
Plus, he delivered some pretty exciting plays as well. Remember the goal where Shane flipped him the puck and skated the defender down the ice and scored on Jonathan Quick, I believe.
Yeah,
beat Drew Doughty to the puck.
He can very well be a goal scorer. He's got that speed in those hands.
Well, and just think about bringing energy on the fourth line. You've just given your first line a real good, hard, solid rest. And the energy's on the ice now. The energy's in the building because you've banged a couple of bodies or you hit a post or something. So now that the rink is full of energy, and then your first line steps on and carries that energy and scores. I mean, the subtleness of the game sometimes I think is missed by the casual fan. And that kid was so much fun to watch.
I think we should get Doug a Jordan Martinook jersey for Christmas.
Oh, well, that was actually going to be our surprise.
That'd be nice.
It's not an actual jersey. It's just a drawing I made of a jersey for you. And by made, I mean I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
My vote, we've talked about Shane. I want to say OEL as well. I know it's an obvious choice. He's such a dynamic player and does so many different things. It's a treat to watch him play.
Well, we all picked him for MVP last week. That's the only reason we're not talking about him as much this week.
But I'll go back to Shane just based on what he accomplished at his age. And I'm going to say this. That last game against San Jose, I think summed up Shane's season from my vantage point. He needed 2 goals for 30, and I was convinced he was going to get it. And I know he got a lot of penalty minutes. And 19 penalty minutes. He wasn't even on the ice. The third period started, and just because of the way the season had gone, I still wouldn't have bet against Shane scoring 2 goals in that third period. Of course, he did not, but it was just that feeling that this is a special season for Shane, and it might have happened.
Well, that's not even where I thought you were going with that. We made such a big deal about, hey, Shane, you could get the 30 goals here. And his response every time was, I'd really like Max to get to 20. It'd be cool to have 2 rookies hit the 20-goal mark because that rarely ever happens that even one hits it.
Right.
But where I thought you were going to go with it was the simple fact that he stood up for a teammate in the first period, knowing full well he was going to miss a good chunk of that game for doing it. He probably shouldn't have missed 19 minutes. That may have been a bit excessive. But either way, when you're sticking up for your teammate, he's not thinking of that. It's instinct. He doesn't care about the 30 goals. He's in game 82 still setting the tone for next season.
Right, in a meaningless game for both teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great point.
So, to wrap things up, not only did the team have a great year, but a very unsung hero had a great year last year.
He's going to talk about himself now.
No.
Oh.
I'm talking about Howler. I have some Howler stats here that I want you to know.
Wait. Don't wrap up after this because I have something else I want to say about the prospects.
Okay. Did you know that at Halloween, Howler wore 3 costumes in one night?
This is the only time Doug has ever brought actual notes to the podcast.
He even dressed and looked the spitting image of Tyson Nash.
He did.
That's true. That was actually pretty
come
good.
on, guys. That was pretty good.
That was the hair, very similar.
Our Howler made SportsCenter twice. Did you know that?
I know he made it once for playing the drums at the All-Star game.
Yeah, and that was the other thing, and he played drums here. But as far as I'm concerned, Howler is the #1 NHL mascot.
Oh, I would agree with that. I mean, I haven't done an extensive 30-team ranking, but I like Howler. I just like the general energy he brings. I did not expect us to go this direction with the podcast, though.
Well, he had a good year. I mean, he made SportsCenter twice.
It's true. That's more than I made SportsCenter.
And he played the drums at the All-Star, and he also played the drums here with Alice Cooper's Sons Band. That was impressive. Come on.
Hardest working mascot in the league.
I want to
Hands
howl
down.
my approval, but I'm fearing trademark problems.
Well, you could do it, but we are in your office, so I think
I
everybody
would
else
have
in the
Howler
office
do it,
would
but he
be-
doesn't talk.
I was hoping we could have him on the show and he could just hand motion his comments to accept this
We'd have to
award.
use air quotes for everything.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I don't like to brag, but I'm gonna. I picked North Dakota to win the final
Hey, by the way, so did I.
So-
title
did he,
game.
yes.
Final. I almost said Final Four. Frozen Four.
Okay.
So Doug put us to the test last week and made me and Dave pick the winner, and we both got it right. And oh,
Okay.
by the way, Doug's team lost instantly after we recorded the podcast.
Ha, 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 ha. So let's move on to more picks before we say goodbye.
Wait, I want to mention
Tonight-
the prospects. Because if
okay.
you look at the OHL playoffs right now, there's 8 teams left.
Yes.
5 of them are strongly represented by Coyotes. 3 of them by Coyotes, or by their captains are Coyotes, and the other 2 are alternates. And Dave's pointing at himself, so he might be an alternate as well.
I am an alternate, and also I wanted to say that Connor Clifton, another prospect,
Yes.
he played in the championship game. Unfortunately, his team lost to North Dakota, but
I was not expecting that score.
Hard-hitting defenseman. I don't know if you watched the game.
Oh, yeah. I watched
he-
that. I watched
Quite
it.
the hit. That was the hit of the
he
game.
delivered. That was, I'm assuming, also on ESPN at some point.
But and Connor Garland too in the QMJHL with Moncton is still playing and setting records for points every season.
I
I think
wonder-
he's notched 2 points since you started talking about him.
he has 256 points in the last 2 regular seasons.
It was really refreshing that weekend, the April 7th and April 9th, the semis and then the Frozen Four final, to see hockey back on ESPN.
Yes.
It was really nice because, you look at the lineup on ESPN and very rarely do they talk about our sport. It was really, really nice to see some time. And not only did they carry the championship game, they repeated it, which I thought was way cool.
As you noted, Howler's really the only one from the NHL that gets on SportsCenter.
That's right, because he's the best mascot in the NHL. Don't you forget it. In fact, I would say he's the best mascot in the NBA and the MLB and the NFL as well.
Now it's going to get intense in here when Doug gets.
He's the number one mascot in professional sport.
There's some sort of payola going on here.
He's going to get beat up by Red from the Cardinals.
Yeah, Wilbur's going to come up from Tucson and punch me in the eye. Okay, tonight, NHL playoffs start. Let's start in the West. Start in our conference.
We're going game by game.
Game by game. Here we go.
We're going to simulate the entire
game by game.
Yes.
Dallas, Minnesota.
Puck drops. Who wins the faceoff?
Dallas, Minnesota. Pick, Luke.
You just want who's going to win or
Yeah,
games
who's
or
just
what?
gonna win?
Dallas will win that series.
David.
Yes, Dallas.
Okay, Dallas. St. Louis, Chicago.
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 Boy, this is interesting.
Ducks.
Well,
Predator.
hold on. Most people I've talked to and most people you see on TV have St. Louis winning that series for some inconceivable reason. Which
how's that going to happen?
Who are you talking to?
people that apparently don't actually watch the playoffs.
You were talking to
every
Howler,
year.
weren't you?
No. It's tough to make a blues sign out of hands, but it's amazing to me that nobody thinks Chicago. I shouldn't say nobody, but haven't we gone down this path
You don't even
before?
like Chicago.
No, but I know what they do this time of year.
Okay.
They win games.
Ducks Predators.
I think this is a good series. I think this is going to be a very good series.
It's
Do I
going
have
to be
pick first?
It's going to be a right down to the last game.
You're both wrong. Ducks in 4.
You did this last year with your whole Ducks and 4 every round.
Who do you say?
I'll still take the Ducks, but I think we're looking at 7.
Yeah, I'm going Ducks all the way. L.A., San Jose.
I think San Jose is better than people think, and and a lot of times you look at their past playoff failures, their main guys have produced. It's just the role players haven't been able to produce enough to win. The role players are all different this year. The coach is different. I actually think they're a pretty decent team, but I'm not picking against L.A. in a playoff series.
No way.
I am. I like San Jose. I just have a feeling this is their year. They're peaking. They're playing well. They're an excellent road team. If they win one of those first 2 games, you're looking at me like I'm crazy. They have 3 guys in the top 10 in points: Joe Thornton, Joe Pavelski, Brent Burns. I'll take those guys. I'll take my chances.
I got 2 other names for you: Jones, Reimer.
Well, and those guys have both been playing good. It's just a matter of you have to pick a goalie.
Regular season.
Yeah, they both can't play at the same time.
But regular season, not against L.A.
That's true. I
go L.A.
I will be clear, though. My pick is not... I know a lot of people make that pick saying, well, it's San Jose in the playoffs. Obviously, they're going to lose. I'm kind of with Dave for the first time in like 3 years in that I do like San Jose and the team they've built, just not against L.A.
No, they're not. Okay. The other side of the country. Capitals, Philly.
I think Washington wins, but I think it's a good series.
I think it will be a good series as well. I just think Philly's done. I think they spent so much energy getting in, they're not going to have much left to play the best team in the league.
Yeah, I'm with Washington. All right. Pittsburgh, Rangers.
This one's interesting. I mean, flip a coin for me. I know Luke's got some in-depth analysis here on the Penguins, but the Penguins and the Rangers, they seem to play every year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Do you want? Well, I'm not going to go off again. I don't.
Please do.
How's Fleury going to do?
I enjoy. Well, he's hurt, so I don't know if he's going to play. I enjoyed the old format where you took the division winners and made them the top 2, and then seeded everybody else through it. For the simple fact that I don't need to see the same playoff series in the first round every year. Pittsburgh and the Rangers, I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, are opening against each other next year too. So what's the point? I mean, I like the variety, and I did this last night. I just quickly plotted out what it would be under the old format where you just take the division winners and then go 1 through 8 the rest of the way. Like Chicago and LA should be playing in the first round. It would be a fantastic
that'd be a great series.
Right.
I just like seeing different matchups in the opening round. And the argument the other way is, well, what about rivalries? The best teams are still going to play down the line if they're winning, and then that makes for an even better rivalry. Forcing Pittsburgh to lose to the Rangers in the first round every year isn't a rivalry.
Yeah, I picked the Rangers, by the way.
I picked the Rangers, too.
I picked Pittsburgh. Neener.
Well, then it guarantees they lose. If Pittsburgh was healthy, I think they'd come out of the East. I will say that, but you can't win with your third-string goalie, and that might
I'm going
happen.
with Pittsburgh.
Next.
Phil Kessel's going to have a heck of a series.
He's been very good.
All right. Florida Islanders.
Florida.
Yeah, I think so. They're just the story there. I don't think it's going to end prematurely.
Islanders have been struggling.
Yeah.
Well, much like Pittsburgh, the Islanders don't have their starting goalie.
Right.
Pittsburgh might have Fleury or Murray. They were both fine. The Islanders don't have a lock for the whole series.
Okay, so the last coin toss, because I picked Florida as well. Last coin toss. Tampa, Detroit.
I think Tampa's still good. I think Tampa wins this series and maybe even another series, even without Stamkos and Stroman.
Wow. I don't
So they
agree.
lean on, are you saying they lean on Bishop?
Yeah. Yeah, if Bishop was hurt, I would not be picking them to win anything. But I do think that much like Pittsburgh, if they were fully healthy, I would have picked them to come out of the East as well. With both Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay being so absurdly beat up, I would go with Washington to win the East. But I still think Tampa, especially the half of the bracket they're in, they'd have to go through Detroit and Florida. They could win those two series.
I like Detroit for the opposite reason I don't like Philly. Did I say that right?
There were 17 negatives in there.
Yeah. I think they're on a nice little run of momentum. And they've got some steam left, and they're the Red Wings. And, hey, this is kind of embarrassing that we had to squeak into the playoffs. We're ticked off, and we're going to take down this first team. So book it.
I agree with them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's probably the series I'm the second most confident in behind Chicago.
No, I agree. I think Detroit's going to take this. I really do.
I mean, you don't usually have a lot of success picking against Detroit, but I just... I wouldn't be shocked.
Throw
I
in the
guess.
revenge factor. They got bumped last year by Tampa in the first
did.
round.
Yeah. But I just...
Am I remembering that right?
They got bumped by Tampa. I don't remember if it was the first or the second round. But I don't, if you put all 16 teams in front of me and you were like, which team has zero chance of winning the Cup this year, my team's Detroit. I just don't think there's any way they could win the Cup.
Well, it all starts tonight, boys, and we'll find out in a few days.
The end.